What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? It is your guy NR23 back today with another video, and this is the official video of the match card, the full match card of Wrestlemania Chicago, both nights of Wrestlemania. Ladies and gentlemen, it is finally here. A lot of people have been curious and wondering. They've been waiting for this match card, and it is here today. This is literally going to be the two biggest episodes in this series and channel's history. And that's why it's been taking a little while, because we got to put all the matches together. There's a whole process behind this stuff, ladies and gentlemen. And my firm belief is that you should never rush an artist, never rush his art out. But it is coming out soon. It's going good. Production is going good. And yes, this is the official match card video that you guys have been waiting for. But before we get into the match card, I want to have a little discussion with you guys. A little over a month ago, maybe 2 months ago at this point, I don't even remember, but I put out a poll asking you guys, after WrestleMania, when we get to Season 2, what would you like to see for the brands for Universe Mode? Because Season 1 of my Universe Mode, if you look through the channel, it actually went through a lot of changes throughout Season 1, and this is actually going to be kind of a quick little reflection. I don't want to waste or bore you guys before we get to the match card, but I do need to preference this and discuss with you guys real quick. That in Season 1, first off, Season 1 has been going on for about 3 years now, and most of you didn't even see most of the beginning of Season 1, which was dating back all the way to the first episode of the Universe Mode series on this channel, which, by the way, strongly recommend you guys do not check those old videos out, because they are horrible. The quality is bad. I sound like I'm commentating and whispering in my parents' basement. It doesn't sound good, and it doesn't look good, but that's part of the learning experience. But I'm saying this to tell you guys that back in Season 1, we changed the series up quite a bit. We started out with 3 brands. For anyone that's been here for the whole 3 years, shout out to you. You're a real one. But the first series on this channel for Universe Mode in Season 1 was 3 brands. It was Raw, SmackDown, and NXT. Then, the second series started in WWE 2K22 when I went to Raw and SmackDown. And to this day, one of the highest performing videos on my channel is the WWE 2K22 draft for Raw and SmackDown when we combined it into 2 brands. So we basically took that. We took 3 brands and went to 2. Then, around Survivor Series, that's when I got the idea to implement my own custom brand, which was one brand, which we've now come to know as Monday Night Anarchy. And, I think all 3 series was good, but I am not afraid to admit that there were a couple momentary decisions that were made during Season 1 that I'm going to avoid in Season 2. Switching up a lot is not a good idea. Take this from me, from my channel. If you're an upcoming growing Universe Mode creator trying to make it, try not to switch up too often. Try to stick with your plans, stick with your ideas. And not to say that I don't stick with my ideas and plans, because there are a lot of plans long term that have been in progress since the first Universe Mode episode. I'll get into that in a little bit in regards to a certain match, Finn Balor vs. Adam Cole, a little preview. If anyone was ever curious, Finn Balor and Adam Cole has actually been built since the very first episode of Universe Mode. That's a fun fact. But I put out a poll saying, out of the 3 series, basically, which did you guys enjoy and what would you like to see in Season 2? And it came down to Anarchy, the one custom brand, and then it also, the other choice was Raw and SmackDown, which is OG, and, there are mixed opinions about both. A lot of people felt that Raw and SmackDown is like the OG series, which it is, and I had some good times recording that. And there are some people who really love the Anarchy idea because it's new, it's custom, it's completely fantasy. But the problem is, ladies and gentlemen, is both have pros and cons, and ultimately, the poll, Raw and SmackDown won, which I have no problem with, which means, yes, we will be going back to Raw and SmackDown after WrestleMania, and how I'm going to be recording these videos is still up in the air. because I'm still deciding on if I want to make long form videos like the old way, or if I want to, start making shorter episodes and just go all out for the pay-per-views, which is what I've been trying to do for a little bit here, but actually really establish in this new era, since in WWE it's a new era. It might as well be a new era here. I'm thinking of what to do, and yes, we are going back to Raw and SmackDown, because that's what won the poll, and we're going to see where it takes us. But Season 2, Raw and SmackDown is going to be the two brands, and we are not going to switch this time. This Season 2, is going to be a next step in the channel, and it's going to be a massive step. And because Raw and SmackDown won, I plan on keeping it Raw and SmackDown the whole season. How I record episodes is going to be up in the air, but prepare for that after WrestleMania. There will be a draft, which that'll be advertised during WrestleMania. There will be a draft for Raw and SmackDown. Thinking about bringing the World Heavyweight title back for the second brand and the Women's World title. More details about that will be coming at WrestleMania and after WrestleMania. But I just wanted to reflect real quick before we get into the full match card. And again, you guys are going to want to sit back and relax, because I'm going to be going over basically all the storylines of each match, because again, I skipped from Royal Rumble to WrestleMania. The reason being was because I don't want to get burned out. I didn't want to get burned out on the road to WrestleMania and basically stall and basically have WrestleMania come out instead of like this month or next month, 6 months from now. I don't want it to be that long, because at that point we'd be halfway through 2K24's cycle. So I'm trying to get my scheduling better, do my thing. So we are going to be skipping to WrestleMania, as you've seen by the YouTube post. And this video will be the match card video. So without further ado, with all that being said, let's get into it. Let's start off with announcing the WrestleMania Night 1 match card. So the first match that is announced for WrestleMania Night 1, it is the Rated R Superstar who made his return back at the Royal Rumble. Edge being managed by his wife Beth Phoenix, taking on the leader of the Final Testament, managed by Scarlett Bordeaux, Karrion Kross. This one is pretty personal. This one dates back all the way back to Saturday night's main event, where we saw Edge, who was the then leader of the then Judgment Day, with Karrion Kross and Damian Priest, and it seemed like the goals were coming into place, because they were just coming off of retiring and taking out permanently a certain beast incarnate inside the Hell in a Cell, literally a week prior to that. And Edge would talk about what's next for the Judgment Day. All of a sudden, Kross and Priest, they'd all of a sudden turn their attention to Edge, saying that they have a vision and that they were bringing in Finn Balor and JD McDonough from the Balor Club to basically create this one dominant force. Two factions coming together. And then the biggest plot twist we could have imagined to see, Kross and Priest laid out Edge, and Finn Balor and JD McDonough replaced Edge in what is now called the Final Testament. Then the Final Testament going into the Royal Rumble would wreak havoc. And then at the Royal Rumble, we would see Edge make his return in the Royal Rumble match, eliminated Karrion Kross. But then when Edge had his back turned, Kross would come back in and eliminate Edge. This one has gone very personal. As you could see, we had one guy. You have this guy who is the leader of a very dominant faction. Think about it. You're coming off of retiring one of the most dominant superstars in the Beast Incarnate. And then to just switch up, Karrion Kross all of a sudden pretty much declares himself the leader of what is now called the Final Testament. And him and Damian Priest take out Edge, and they would pretty much join forces with Finn Balor. And the faction is pretty dominant, but now we've got into a situation where Edge is bringing out some insurance in Beth Phoenix, and Kross will have Scarlett at his side. You have the two mistresses. Then you have the former leader of Judgment Day, taking on the now leader of Final Testament, Karrion Kross. Ladies and gentlemen, who will walk out victorious? We will have to wait till WrestleMania to find out. Moving on, coming up next, it is the first annual China Memorial Battle Royal, in which we will see 8 female athletes, 8 superstars, battle it out to try and get a win of the first ever China Memorial Battle Royal. The winner will put themselves in a better place and set the tone for Season 2 of UniverseMode. And quite possibly the winner of this might just be able to eventually get a title shot of their choosing. Whether it's the WWE Women's title, the Women's World title, which will be making a return, or the Women's North American title, which we'll be getting into in a little bit later on. Maybe the winner of this Battle Royal will be able to get a future title shot. And you never know in a Battle Royal who will show up here, especially on the grandest stage of them all, WrestleMania. So we've got the China Memorial Battle Royal, 8 female superstars. We'll have to wait to see who's in this matchup. And we'll see who can get a big-time victory and make history and win the first ever China Memorial Battle Royal. Up next, we got to talk about quite possibly a dream match that many would consider, and that is the aerial assassin, the United Elite's Will Osprey, taking on the King of Strong Style, Shinsuke Nakamura. And this feud came to be a few weeks ago, last month, on Anarchy, as the Eddie Guerrero Memorial Cup tournament was going on. That was what was happening on Anarchy heading into WrestleMania. There was a tournament being held in the honor of the late great Latino Heat Eddie Guerrero. And these two would make each other's life a living hell, because in round 1, Nakamura would defeat Osprey, and the Elite would get upset at Osprey because they claim that the Elite refuse to lose. And pretty much Osprey made them look like losers. And so they basically set Osprey off and sent him to go take out Nakamura. In the next round, Nakamura would go up against Kevin Owens, and Will Osprey would cost Nakamura the victory and lay out Nakamura after the match, helping out Kevin Owens move on to the finals, which will be revealed in a little bit. And yeah, this feud has been going back and forth. These two have been laying each other out. Nakamura was face to face with Eric Bischoff, and Will Osprey, on this past week's edition of Anarchy, on the go-home show to WrestleMania, would attempt to lay out Nakamura, but Nakamura was too quick, laid him out with a Kinshasa, and so it leads us to the grandest stage of them all. Will Osprey will go one-on-one with Shinsuke Nakamura, and this match will also be commentated, yes, special guest commentary by none other than the great Desi. Desi from X, a good friend of mine. He will be commentating this match, so be on the lookout for that. Folks, who do you got in this dream match? It should be a good one. Next up, we've got a special interpromotional Fatal 4-Way WrestleMania Showcase matchup in which the winner of this contest will get a future title opportunity of their choosing, and it happens at WrestleMania, because back at the Royal Rumble, we saw a few debuts / returns in the Royal Rumble match itself, and actually earlier on in the night, we saw Wardlow take on his former mentor Bobby Roode, in which Wardlow basically destroyed Bobby Roode and made him look like a pure chump. Wardlow destroyed Bobby Roode and had pretty much a star-making and history-making performance, laying out a veteran like Bobby Roode in the middle of that ring, getting the 1-2-3. So he is claimed to be not only the future of this company and business, but he wants some championship gold. And after defeating Bobby Roode, it's hard to argue that he doesn't deserve it. But in the Royal Rumble match itself for the men, we saw Swerve make his series debut. Swerve when I drive. That's right. Oh yeah, man. Swerve when I drive. If you feel what I'm talking about. Swerve made his appearance in this series at the Royal Rumble. Unsuccessful, but he had a pretty impressive showcase. And then Andrade El Idolo also made an appearance and made his shocking return. The last time we saw Andrade was almost 6 months ago at One Night Stand when Rey Mysterio dropped him 30 feet off the high riser in the back through that exploding light. But El Idolo is back. He looks better than ever. And then we can't forget about possibly the second most important return besides CM Punk in the Men's Royal Rumble match. And that is the Samoan submission machine, Samoa Joe, a legend in this business. And Samoa Joe, the last we saw before the Royal Rumble, before SmackDown combined with Raw to make Anarchy, before Raw and SmackDown had relations and impregnated themselves, and basically had Anarchy be born, Samoa Joe was William Regal's hand-picked security enforcer back on SmackDown. And Samoa Joe returned in the Royal Rumble match, and in the headsets, Triple H told me myself exclusively, Samoa Joe has been cleared to compete. So this brings us to WrestleMania and a matchup that will shape the future in Season 2, because, again, the winner of this match will get a title shot of their choosing. Who do you got to win this one, folks? 4 hot prospects in the business right now. 4 at the top of their very game. 3 of them either debuted like Swerve or made their return and are looking to make a statement. Who can win this and who will get the title shot? We'll have to find out. Now let's move on to a match that is 10 years in the making. Literally over 10 years in the making. A feud that has been brewing since 2013. Back in the middle of the Yes movement, when the crowd was behind Bryan Danielson, when he was then known as Daniel Bryan. When Shawn Michaels turned on Daniel Bryan back in 2013 at Hell in a Cell. Ever since then, the relationship's been on and off, but it got reignited this past November in the build-up to Survivor Series, when the then World Heavyweight Champion Seth Rollins held an open challenge, and it was answered by SmackDown's Bryan Danielson. Bryan Danielson would be unsuccessful because out from the crowd when the referee was down, Shawn Michaels would make his return after being brutalized by MJF and Cody Rhodes 2 months prior. Michaels made his debut and shockingly turned his back on Danielson once again, stunning the audience, going crazy. And then several weeks later, after Survivor Series, Shawn Michaels would start going crazy again. You could compare it pretty much to 1996 behind-the-scenes Shawn Michaels, but on-screen. Shawn Michaels was becoming a straight menace, and he has been a straight menace on the road to WrestleMania. And Shawn Michaels would take it far, and he would start recruiting a new team of heavies, his henchmen, in Bronson Reed and Drew McIntyre. He would take those two under his wing and form a new stable of sorts that we would come to find out to be called the New Clique. And Shawn Michaels would be running around with these two, destroying people, having them do his dirty work on an episode of Anarchy when they took out Sami Zayn. Shawn Michaels took out Sami Zayn and had Bronson Reed He basically hit a bonsai drop right into the midsection of Sami Zayn. And then Ricochet also got brutalized by Bronson Reed and Drew McIntyre. And he received a bonsai drop that basically shattered his ribcage. So over the past number of weeks, Shawn Michaels has basically made it apparent to target some of the local indie talent, the wrestlers that got big in the indies, much like Bryan Danielson. They've just been targeting those guys. And then, of course, on the road to WrestleMania, they made Bryan Danielson's life a living hell. Attack after attack, brutalizing him. Shawn Michaels landed a super kick on Bryan Danielson, costing Bryan Danielson an opportunity to compete in the Eddie Guerrero Memorial Cup tournament. And it has led to this moment right here where Bryan Danielson is going to face the Heartbreak Kid Shawn Michaels on the grandest stage of them all. Again, 10 years in the making, and this match will be commentated by none other than JC Pentagon, fellow Universe Mode creator, probably the top Universe Mode creator right now, size-wise, channel size. He will be commentating, and this match could be one for the ages. Next up, we're moving on to the encounter between these two in the ring when Adam Cole, the leader of the Undisputed Era, takes on the Final Testament's Finn Balor, but it'll be the Demon King version of Finn Balor. Ladies and gentlemen, as I said in the opening segment and intro of this video, I don't recommend going back to watch my old Universe Mode videos from 2K19, but if you do happen to go back, you will see that Adam Cole and Finn Balor has been brewing literally since episode 1 of this Universe Mode and of this channel. This is the longest running feud up to date, and there's been ups and downs. It all started back last year when McIntyre was the WWE champion. Finn Balor was chasing the belt, and when Drew McIntyre defeated Finn Balor, the night after on Raw, Finn Balor would turn on Drew McIntyre and join the Undisputed Era. But along the way, as we've seen, there were some bumps on the road. Finn Balor, over the course of time, would start to get more sinister. He would start to get more sick and twisted. He would slowly but surely turn what was the Undisputed Era into none other than Finn Balor's cult known as the Balor Club, where basically he accepted no losses, no signs of weaknesses. I mean, we're talking about a faction that defeated the Brothers of Destruction back at SummerSlam. So this group was headed towards great things, no doubt about that, despite Balor making it into his own cult to satisfy his own sinister personal ways, just to satisfy his own ego. And then it all led into Survivor Series War Games, where we would see the top two factions in this company, Balor Club, take on Bullet Club, Raw vs. SmackDown, in which the Balor Club were victorious. Now, in that match, Adam Cole accidentally laid out JD McDonough. It was an accident. But after the match is when things got real juicy. Things got real crazy when Finn Balor took to the mic, took a chair to Roderick Strong's back, basically told Adam Cole that you got to pick right now and choose wisely, because Roderick Strong has been the one to actually do nothing and make the Balor Club look weak. And if you remember, months prior, it was Finn Balor who was putting his hands on Adam Cole, slapping him in the face. But then, once they won, and Adam Cole was one of the MVPs of the War Games match, if you look back. He's one of the primary reasons for the Balor Club winning. Of course, you had the interference from AJ Styles, which we'll talk about later on tonight, later on in this video. But yeah, Adam Cole would basically choose Roderick Strong as anyone would choose their best friend in the business over some guy who's basically trying to just take over and he's just in it for himself. That would lean on and off. Then at No Mercy, Adam Cole got a title shot against Gunther for the Intercontinental title. And Finn Balor would make his return, cost Adam Cole the match and title. Then at the Royal Rumble, Adam Cole returned and eliminated Finn Balor in the Royal Rumble. He took out JD McDonough, so McDonough couldn't even compete in the Rumble. Then Adam Cole, his sole purpose for interfering in the Rumble match was to solely take out Finn Balor. That's dedication. He didn't care about the titles. He just wants his personal revenge. And that has led to what is going to go down at WrestleMania, the final chapter of this story that's been going on literally since episode 1, as I preached earlier on. As Adam Cole, the leader of the Undisputed Era, will take on the Demon King Finn Balor in a no-holds-barred match. Anything goes. No DQ, no countout. We must have a winner. And it's all going to go down on WrestleMania Night 1. Who do you got for this matchup? This one will be personal and brutal. And next up, we're moving on because it's now time to talk about quite possibly the biggest dream match in WrestleMania history. If not WrestleMania history, we're talking pure pro wrestling, in-ring style, that history right there. We're talking two of the greatest overseas professional wrestlers we've ever seen. As the ring general, the Intercontinental Champion, takes on the New Japan World Champion, the IWGP Champion, Kazuchika Okada, in a championship unification dream match that all started back at the Royal Rumble when Gunther went through absolute war against Solo Sakoa, who we will also be talking about later on. Gunther has had a great quality amount of wins, some good wins. He defeated AJ Styles back at Survivor Series, of course, with the interference of Jay White, which we will again talk about. We'll get into that because all this stuff connects, ladies and gentlemen. Gunther defeated AJ Styles to combine the US and IC titles, and he ultimately chose the IC title to represent professional wrestling. Then he defeated Shelton Benjamin in an open challenge on Anarchy. He defeated Adam Cole, like we said earlier, back at No Mercy. And then he defeated Solo Sakoa, the self-proclaimed new tribal chief Gunther took down. And then after that match, in the backstage area, Gunther would call out the Rainmaker, basically signifying that he wants to have a match with the Rainmaker on the grandest stage of them all. And over the course of the coming weeks, Gunther would target Okada. He would send Kaiser and Vinci after the Rainmaker, and Okada would just make easy, light work of these two. Ludwig Kaiser and Giovanni Vinci are good athletes in their own right, but Okada proved to be too much. Okada made his debut the night after Survivor Series, and it's honestly the biggest signing in this company's history. When Triple H signed Okada as the IWGP champion to the WWE full-time. And Okada, recognized in WWE and on Anarchy, yeah, Okada defeated John Cena back in No Mercy. And Okada had a decent showing in the Royal Rumble. He got eliminated, but, he was in the Royal Rumble, still making history, showcasing himself, being a New Japan pro wrestler to be in the WWE Royal Rumble match. It's pretty impressive in its own right. But Okada has had a longer title reign than Gunther with this IC title. Because Okada, before he came to WWE, and yes, Triple H in the headsets, has allowed me to talk about this. Okada has been the IWGP champion beyond this series for about 14 months, actually, as he won the title 14 months ago at Wrestle Kingdom. And he's defeated a lot of guys, ladies and gentlemen. He's defeated more people than Gunther. This guy, Okada's defeated guys like Eddie Kingston, Hiroshi Tanahashi, Wheeler Yuta, the list goes on. And then, of course, the biggest win so far was obviously against John Cena here in the States. But Okada just wants to fight. Gunther has been talking a lot. He's been talking a lot to Okada, but Okada's not a man to really speak. He's not a man of many words. He just wants to fight. And this is a championship unification match, ladies and gentlemen. There can only be one winner, and only one person will walk out as double champion. A situation similar to Survivor Series, but the difference is whoever wins this match will be double champion. It's not the title that loses, the champion that loses, their title is not just going to be retired. Oh no, not this time around. Not like the United States title. Whoever walks out will be a double champion heading into Season 2, and will remain double champion until someone can take either both or one of the titles off of them. And this match will be commentated by none other then the CTP crew, Cole and Expert. And it should be one of the greatest matches of all time. And this match will actually open WrestleMania Night 1. Quite possibly the biggest dream match we've ever seen. The Intercontinental Champion Gunther takes on the IWGP Heavyweight Champion Kazuchika Okada in a match that will feed families, ladies and gentlemen. This one could be great. I can't wait for this one. Moving on, next up, we've got a bit of a controversial one, ladies and gentlemen, as the WWE Women's Champion, the Empress of Today, Asuka, goes one-on-one against the Women's Royal Rumble winner, again in controversial fashion, the Dangerous Alliance's Ronda Rousey. Back at the Royal Rumble, Paul Heyman and Ronda Rousey manipulated the system. They stalled on purpose. It was a setup all along, because Ronda Rousey was basically trying to figure out her contract, and Paul Heyman, of course, being the advocate, was trying to come up with a deal with Triple H, and of course, they waited till the night of the Royal Rumble. They waited until Naomi came out at number 30, and then Ronda would basically use that power of herself as that UFC superstar, because she does have that kind of pull when you think about it. But even with having that sort of pull, it's still not right what she did. What she did was despicable. She basically pulled a Roman Reigns back in 2020. Back when Roman was the tribal chief with Paul Heyman and became the World Heavyweight Champion. Ronda Rousey basically did the same thing, but for an entire Royal Rumble match. Spat in the face of the fans, spat in my face, spat in professional wrestling's face. This chick doesn't give a damn about us or the professional wrestling business. This chick, she just wants the title, but she's just willing to do it in any way possible. This chick bent the rules, manipulated the system, and got herself, she weaseled her way into this title match at WrestleMania. And I know I'm not supposed to be biased here, but I hope Asuka absolutely whoops this chick's ass and gets her out of this company for good, because this is getting ridiculous. No one likes Ronda. She sucks. But yes, Asuka will be defending the women's title against Ronda Rousey. But Ronda Rousey has been running around over the past few weeks with Shayna Basler, and revealed over the course of the road to WrestleMania, Zoe Stark as well, who joined the Dangerous Alliance as well. Shayna Basler was one of the primary reasons why Ronda even won the Royal Rumble, as Shayna was paid off by Paul Heyman basically to jump out the ring at the Royal Rumble, go over the top rope herself, and have Ronda win. And it's been this pyramid scheme. The Dangerous Alliance are a bunch of weasels, all behind the mastermind of Paul Heyman. I gotta admit, Paul Heyman is a smart guy. He's very smart. He's an advocate for a reason. And it has weaseled Ronda Rousey's way into a match at WrestleMania against the champion. So it's all gonna go down. The Empress of Today, on night 1, will defend the title against Ronda Rousey. Who will be the women's champion headed into season 2? We'll have to find out, ladies and gentlemen. Next up, we gotta move on to a match that is very personal, that started all the way back at the Royal Rumble. Other than the WWE World Title Triple Threat match on night 2, this match has pretty much the most stakes on the line when it comes to any match on the WrestleMania card. Because this match, whoever loses gets impacted either way. One person has to lose. It's John Cena taking on MJF. John Cena's career is on the line, and MJF's hair is on the line. This match started all the way back at the Royal Rumble when John Cena got a fantastic elimination on MJF. MJF would all of a sudden snap, come back into the ring, throw John Cena out, and MJF would brutalize John Cena at ringside, hit him with steel steps, would lock in the salt of the earth armbar, and he would basically brutalize John Cena. And on the road to WrestleMania, MJF would continuously attack and beat down the Doctor of Thugonomics, and John Cena has been looking the most vulnerable he's ever looked in his entire career. John Cena, we do a quick overview of the crazy year he's had here in Universe Mode, here in Season 1. Started at SummerSlam when he did the unthinkable that no one ever thought we would ever see. Some would say it was too late, but in the times that we saw where John Cena was getting a bit desperate there, John Cena defeated Dominik Dijakovic to become the Intercontinental Champion, to be officially known as a Grand Slam champion. John Cena turned and became more vicious than we've ever seen, but he did it in a way that the fans did not approve of. And this, for the first time in Cena's career, really, besides back in his run back in the way beginning in 2003 when he was first the Doctor of Thugonomics, where he was kind of popular, but he was a heel. He was a quote-unquote heel, bad guy, but he had more so go-away heat for a little bit there. And then he did get more popular, and he eventually did turn into the nice, good guy we all know. Then he became the Boy Scout John Cena, Mr. Hustle, Loyalty, and Respect years later. And John Cena, despite having his career turn, he had an up-and-down year, mostly down. He was able to retain the title against Sheamus at Clash of the Castle, and an impressive victory. It was impressive. And then, at One Night Stand, his feud with Edge during that month was reignited, and they had quite possibly even more personal rivalry than they did back in the day, back in 2006. John Cena was the evil person this time. It was quite the opposite of how it was back in the prime of the Ruthless Aggression era, where Edge did all these horrible things to torture John Cena and vice versa. But Edge was, and still is, the radar superstar. But this time around, Cena was doing things like Edge was doing to him back in the day. Cena threw Edge in a freaking lake this past year, in the Lake of Albany, New York. And Edge would defeat John Cena in TLC 2 back at One Night Stand to end that title reign. Then Cena would try to find himself at Survivor Series. Him versus Dijak 2 in a First Blood match. Dijak defeated him. Dijak busted Cena open with that rusty knee pad to feast your eyes right to the center of the forehead. Split him open. Then at No Mercy, Cena tried to get back into the win column, trying to take the IWGP title from Okada to become the first WWE superstar to hold the IWGP heavyweight title, with New Japan happening at the same time. He failed at that. Then at Saturday night's main event, Cena lost to Cody Rhodes. Speaking of Cody Rhodes, MJF has had his issues with Cody. MJF and Cody feuded. MJF and Cody started off back when MJF made his appearance felt back at SummerSlam to help Cody win. Then at Clash of the Castle, they brutalized DX. And then MJF did the unthinkable, turning on Cody. I honestly would have thought MJF and Cody would have fought at WrestleMania this year with how personal it was getting. But MJF has turned his attention to John Cena. Basically saying he's basically salty for being eliminated by Cena. Let's call a spade a spade. But MJF, what he's been saying, I hate the guy. But what he's been saying is kind of true. He's saying Cena's washed. So much so that MJF has been brutalizing Cena. And he put out the challenge a few weeks back on Anarchy for Cena to put his career on the line in a big-time WrestleMania matchup at WrestleMania Chicago. Cena accepted, hesitantly, of course, but Cena's got a lot to prove. Cena's explained over the last few weeks that he doesn't expect the fans to take him back because he might have just found his old ways back. He's trying to dig back into that hustle, loyalty, and respect aspect, but can we really trust John Cena after what he's been doing the last 6 months? I mean, this dude, we're talking about a man who brutalized a fan at ringside back on Raw like 5 months ago. Has John Cena really changed? He's going to have to because his career is on the line at WrestleMania. But ladies and gentlemen, those aren't the only stakes. MJF, his hair is on the line. So this is the way it's going to go. Either Cena is not going to have an in-ring career after Mania, or MJF is not going to have a full head of hair after WrestleMania. One or the other will happen, and ladies and gentlemen, this match will be commentated by none other than a good friend of mine, Dylan Tulin. He will be commentating this matchup. It should be a fun one. This is, other than the Triple Threat WWE title match, one of the biggest matches with the most stakes on the line on the entire WrestleMania card. So we'll have to see what happens there. And lastly, for WrestleMania Night 1 of Chicago, it is the main event. Seth freaking Rollins takes on Jon Moxley in a Hell in a Cell match, and Mick Foley is the special guest referee. Ladies and gentlemen, this feud goes back all the way. All the way. Of course, many will bring up the initial Shield breakup when Rollins took the chair to Moxley's back. But these two have had an up and down relationship ever since then. Ever since 2014. It's been up and down. It's been rocky. They had their feud back in 2014. They feuded in 2015. They feuded in 2019. 18-19 when Moxley turned on Rollins then. And then they got in the whole conundrum with Roman Reigns earlier this year when Roman Reigns was on pace to be the world champion for 1,000 days. Then Seth Rollins took a hit to that. Rollins took that title off of Reigns at Clash of the Castle. And he shattered the dreams of Roman Reigns. And weeks earlier before that, Roman Reigns took the chair to both of their backs. So these three have had a lot of history. And Rollins was world champion until Kenny Omega, the leader of the Elite, took that title from Seth Rollins in controversial fashion. And on the third encounter on Anarchy 3 months ago, in the lead up to the Royal Rumble, Jon Moxley turned on Rollins again. Their whole career is just these two turning on each other, but this time it's a little different. This time it's really personal. Like, this time around you can really feel the bitterness between these two. And this is real, folks. This rivalry is real. This is as real as it gets. So much so that it has led to a Hell in a Cell match. Their second Hell in a Cell match, actually, in their career against each other. This time, it needs a special guest enforcer in Mick Foley, and these two have been attacking each other week after week. And we gotta also remember, keep in mind, Jon Moxley turned on Rollins back before the Royal Rumble to join forces with Paul Heyman to form the Dangerous Alliance alongside Braun Breaker. And back at the Royal Rumble, these two were supposed to have a match, but as Rollins' music was hitting, he wasn't coming out. Turns out Moxley and Breaker jumped him at the Royal Rumble, bloodied him, did some not so PG things to him. Since we're not PG anymore in this new era, we might as well call it like it is. Rollins and Moxley want to get at each other. On the road to WrestleMania, it's been really rocky. They've been battering each other, destroying each other. On the go-home episode of Anarchy to WrestleMania, we would see Moxley share some words with the Hell in a Cell structure down at the ring, inside the Hell in a Cell. Moxley did not want Mick Foley to call this match. He did not want him to. And Moxley and Mick Foley brawled on the go-home show inside the Hell in a Cell structure, as you could see from the promo that I put out. They brawled. But one thing Mick Foley has ensured is that he will call it down the middle regardless. There's no conspiracy against Moxley from Foley. Foley is simply there to call the match down the middle. And because in a matchup like this with this much tension, you can't have a regular referee out there. We can't put Rod out there. We can't put Charles Robinson out there, who would probably get destroyed in this setting. If you remember back at WrestleMania 24, when Charles Robinson had to run at the speed of light to help the Undertaker vs. Edge match, we can't put Charles Robinson in that situation here at NR23 Studios. We can't do it. We can't do it. So Triple H and the WrestleMania guest host Stone Cold, they afforded Mick Foley as the referee. They assigned him to this matchup. So that wraps up night one for the matches. By the way, folks, 10 matches a night. I know it's a lot, especially for one brand, but you have to understand we're going out this new era, the old era, and coming in with the new. We're going out with a banger. That's why I'm doing 10 matches each night, even with one brand, because if Triple H is going to go with the new era, like how they're doing, we might as well go into a new era as well and close out this chapter, because it is an important chapter, and each match on this card means the world to me. So without further ado, let's get in to WrestleMania Night 2. To continue on the path of the Dangerous Alliance wreaking havoc and being straight menaces led by Paul Heyman, let's talk about the other mid-card championship matchup that'll happen on night 2. As the undefeated Braun Breaker, the television champion, a member of the Dangerous Alliance, defends his championship against the newest face of the company right now, who has made a heck of an impact in Dragon Lee. This match should be interesting, folks, because both these guys are undefeated. Now, Braun Breaker is 81-0 here in the series. He debuted about 6 or so months ago on the main roster, and he started on the SmackDown brand, win after win, and then back at One Night Stand, he won the new television title against Austin Theory, and he defeated Goldberg, retired Goldberg back at Survivor Series, and became an honorary member of the Dangerous Alliance led by Paul Heyman. So, despite what I think about that fat, ugly, disgusting walrus of a man and known as Paul Heyman, despite what I think of him, there's no doubt that Braun Breaker, being under the wing and the tutelage of Paul Heyman, has helped him thus far. It has. But it has led to this. Defending his title against another guy who recently debuted in the series, but he's also undefeated. Now, Dragon Lee's undefeated streak isn't nearly as impressive, no offense, like Braun Breaker's. Braun Breaker has been on a run similar to Goldberg back in WCW. Braun Breaker has not lost this year, folks. He has not lost a match in this series. Undefeated. No one's beaten this guy clean. No one's beaten this guy in any way possible, by the way. That's not to take shots at anyone else who's had a streak. Braun Breaker, the point is, has no losses in this series at all. And he's going to defend his title against Dragon Lee. This is simply another story of quite possibly David and Goliath, because Dragon Lee is going to have to pull out everything to have a chance at taking down Braun Breaker at WrestleMania and ending the streak of this man. Dragon Lee's been impressive in his string of matches. He debuted. We saw the vignettes of him. He defeated Axiom in a hell of a match back on Anarchy Rules before the Royal Rumble. And he's earned himself a title shot against Braun Breaker. Streak versus streak. David versus Goliath. Ladies and gentlemen, who will walk out as the television champion heading into Season 2? We're going to have to find out. Next up is a match that has a lot of history behind it, actually. A match that actually dates back to SummerSlam, when Iyo Sky and Dakota Kai made their appearance and they helped Bayley become the then at the time Raw Women's Champion. And they would join forces to become a unit known as Damage Control. Until eventually Bayley started to become a little bit like Finn Balor, actually, where it's similar, where Bayley started to, you could tell she started to become in it for herself. And back at SummerSlam, even in the way Dakota and Iyo made their debuts in this series on the main roster, you could tell that Bayley's intention was to always have these two just be her henchwoman. And it all led to Survivor Series War Games, where Damage Control, along with Raquel Rodriguez, at this point, Damage Control was doing really good for the most part. It seemed like they were together as a united force. Damage Control, along with Raquel, would take on Team Stratisfaction at Survivor Series War Games in the War Games structure. Trish, Lita, Liv Morgan, and we then found out Jade Cargill, who will also be on this list later on in a match. But Damage Control was unsuccessful, and it kind of drove Bayley over the edge. Then Bayley would take on Asuka, along with Shayna Baszler, in a triple threat match at No Mercy. Asuka won. Many would claim that Asuka escaped that win. Call it what you want to call it. Then at the Royal Rumble, Bayley lost her title shot. It was the last title opportunity for her with Asuka as champion. Thanks to Iyo Sky. Iyo Sky was tired of it. She snapped. Bayley, when the ref was down, was calling for a chair, and Iyo Sky got the chair and threw it on the ground. And it basically distracted Bayley. Asuka recovered, misted her in the face, made Bayley tap, and that was that. And over the course of the road to WrestleMania, Bayley and Iyo would get at each other's throats. And Bayley would basically... Her and Iyo basically signed a hold heartless agreement. They couldn't touch each other at all. Thanks to Triple H, they could not touch each other unless provoked. Unless each of them provoked each other. So on the road to WrestleMania, Dakota Kai, in the middle of all this, was forced to pick a side. And she ultimately went with Iyo Sky. And, I mean, that's the logical thing to do, in my opinion. I think Dakota did the right thing. Bayley's been an egomaniac. But, on the go-home episode of WrestleMania for Anarchy, we would see a bunch of security guys would basically be hired by Bayley to hold Iyo Sky captive, handcuffed her, and then Bayley beat the crap out of Iyo Sky again because they were provoked. Remember, if provoked, Iyo Sky would be able to strike Bayley, but Bayley went up to him that. So that has led us to WrestleMania, where we will see a grudge match, folks. Bayley takes on Iyo Sky, and Dakota will be in Iyo Sky's corner. And it all goes down on the show of shows. Next up, we've got Jade Cargill versus Bianca Belair at WrestleMania. Jade Cargill has had one hell of a rookie year here in WWE. Jade Cargill, aside from the Royal Rumble, is also undefeated. And Jade Cargill has made a hell of an impact, ladies and gentlemen. I cannot stress this. Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair, you might want to look out for them in Season 2, because these two women are the future of this industry, 100%. Back at the Royal Rumble, Jade Cargill started at the number one entrant, the number one spot in the Women's Royal Rumble match. She had a hell of a showcase, ladies and gentlemen. She lasted over half of the match before Bianca Belair made her appearance. Bianca Belair came down the ring and eliminated Jade Cargill, making a statement. And it leads us to WrestleMania. Over the course of Road to WrestleMania, Jade Cargill and Bianca, they haven't gotten physical toward each other. They have mutual respect for one another, actually. They both respect each other. Two strong, powerful black queens going at it. Right? But not physically. They've just been exchanging words on the mic. This match is simply about who is the better woman, who is the better athlete, who will gain momentum heading into Season 2 in the draft. Because these two women are undoubtedly the future of this company and business, and they're going to do great things in Season 2, I wholeheartedly believe. This match will be commentated by another good friend of mine named Big Young Ultra. He's actually the one who designed all these WrestleMania graphics for me, so you should give him a follow on X, otherwise known as Twitter. He will be commentating this match. This match is specifically a showcase. Two women who have genuine respect for each other, but both are trying to prove who the better woman is. Both are trying to make an impact at a point on the grandest stage of them all. Two African-American women going at it one-on-one, mano-a-mano, at WrestleMania. It should be a good one, ladies and gentlemen. Who do you got for this one? I cannot wait. Next up, folks, should be a fun one. This one is bound to be absolutely chaotic, but it still could very well steal the show at WrestleMania Night 2. The Tag Team Championships are on the line. The gauntlet is being thrown down. FTR is defending against not one, not two, but three teams. FTR has their biggest challenge yet. They have to go up against three teams. Three of the very best teams at the top of their game in professional wrestling right now. FTR won the titles, the Undisputed Tag titles, when they defeated Redragon back at One Night Stand to combine the Raw and SmackDown Tag titles. FTR has had a heck of a run as the Undisputed Champs of WWE. They defeated Feast in Our Glory back at No Mercy. And that match was amazing. And then in the Royal Rumble, Dax Hardwood represented the whole tag team division in the Royal Rumble match. He did end up getting eliminated off screen in the Royal Rumble match, so take that for what it was. So much for representing, but all jokes aside, right? This match has a lot of stakes up for grabs. You got 4 hungry tag teams looking to prove who's the best tag team in this company, right? So you've got the Young Bucks. The Young Bucks assaulted FTR on an episode of Anarchy before the Royal Rumble. So basically send a little message there. You know, and at one point in time, you could make an argument that FTR and the Young Bucks were the 2 best tag teams on the whole planet, right? And people's opinions of the Young Bucks, especially recently, have changed a bit. You know, they're representing the Elite with Eric Bischoff, Kenny Omega, and Will Osprey. And then you have DIY. DIY, they made the challenge on Anarchy Rules before the Royal Rumble. They challenged FTR. They wanted to go back in time to when FTR was the Revival and DIY was in NXT, and they had their classic wars. DIY threw out a challenge before the Royal Rumble to do that one last time in WrestleMania. But Feast in Our Glory, much like in the build-up to No Mercy, a few weeks ago, laid out the entire field. Worse than the first time, ladies and gentlemen. Because remember, the first time, Feast in Our Glory decimated the Creed brothers and the Street Profits. This time around, Keith Lee and Dijak destroyed these 3 teams out there when there was a triple threat tag match, a trios tag match, Tornado trios tag match, right? A few weeks ago to figure out a number 1 contender. And there was a no contest. So that has led us to the grandest stage of them all. This match will be commentated by none other than J&W Boss, the Boss Man, and J-Dog. This one should be good. Fatal 4-way gauntlet style rules. FTR will be starting out as the champions. They will defend against the Young Bucks first. Whoever wins that will go up against DIY, and whoever wins that will then have to go up against Feast in Our Glory. Who will walk out and who will walk into Season 2 as the undisputed tag team champions of WWE? We'll have to find out. Next up for WrestleMania Night 2, it is a tribal combat war. It is a personal one, folks. Solo Sakoa, the new self-proclaimed tribal chief, takes on the final boss, The Rock. On Night 2, this is all going to go down. It all started back at the Royal Rumble when Solo, after he lost to Gunther, thanks to a helping hand from Ken Shamrock when he locked The Rock in an ankle lock. Solo lost. The Rock would then come into the ring, frustrated that Solo lost. Rock would turn his back to Solo, and all of a sudden Solo would stick his greasy, disgusting thumb, his thick thumb, into the throat of the Brahma Bull. And The Rock did not appreciate that, of course. The Rock tried to avenge himself, and it leaves the Usos in an awkward spot, and the whole Samoan family, because with Roman Reigns out right now, thanks to John Moxley pile driving him through the flaming table, there's no Roman Reigns to help that either. And there's no wise man to fix this situation. Paul Heyman's with John Moxley and Braun Breaker and Ronda, Shayna, and Zoe Stark. Paul Heyman no longer handles Bloodline business. He handles Dangerous Alliance business. That's what he's worried about. And Roman Reigns, I'm sure if he ever comes back, his focus probably isn't the Bloodline. It's probably, I would think Moxley for trying to kill him, for trying to off him through that flaming table. But nonetheless, the final boss made out the challenge, threw it out to Solo. Solo wants to call himself the new tribal chief. And, The Rock did make his appearance when he returned a few months ago during a match on Raw when Solo faced Roman Reigns. The Rock made his appearance as Hollywood Rock, and he cost Roman the match. And he joined forces with Solo. We thought the new Bloodline was strong and powerful, and it did look like they were a strong force. Then the Royal Rumble happened. Solo lost in that IC title match to Gunther, which there's no shame in, by the way. It's Gunther. But it was too much for The Rock, and apparently it was too much for Solo, because Solo ended up spiking him in his throat. Again, with his thick, greasy thumb. So it all goes down at WrestleMania when the self-proclaimed new tribal chief, the street champion of the islands, takes on the final boss in the great one, The Rock, on the grandest stage of them all in tribal combat in singles competition. Next up, folks, let's talk about, and I alluded to it earlier in the Night 1 match card preview. I talked about it. I hinted at it. The Eddie Guerrero Memorial Cup. This is the final matchup of that tournament that took place over the course of the road to WrestleMania. After the Royal Rumble, a tournament was started with the two winners facing each other, the two finalists facing each other at WrestleMania, with the winner getting a future title shot. A future world title shot, ladies and gentlemen. There's some big things on the line here. Not only will the winner get the Eddie Guerrero Memorial Cup trophy, but they'll also get a future title shot, world title shot in Season 2. And the two finalists are none other than the American Nightmare Cody Rhodes and the prize fighter Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens, I alluded to earlier, was able to defeat. He unfortunately had to go through Sami Zayn, and it pained him. In round 1, he had to go through Sami Zayn. Then in the second round, he had a helping hand due to outside circumstances against Nakamura, as Osprey had unfinished business with Nakamura. And Rhodes was able to defeat Rey Mysterio in a friendly bout. And then Cody defeated Drew McIntyre with Bryan Danielson's help, as I alluded to earlier, leading to Bryan Danielson versus Shawn Michaels. That also helped Cody Rhodes. So Cody and Kevin Owens, to be honest with you, are both in this match due to hectic circumstances, but they both deserve to be in this spot. And these two have mutual respect for one another, but when they get into the ring, as said by Kevin Owens in the face-to-face interview on the go-home show of Anarchy to WrestleMania, these two have respect for each other, but there can only be one winner. And Kevin Owens and Cody Rhodes both understand, and they both made it perfectly clear to each other that they're both going to do what it takes to win. Because again, two things are on the line here. The Eddie Guerrero Memorial Cup and a future world title shot. So there's a lot at risk here. You can even call these guys allies. They're decent friends, you know. They don't hate each other. Mutual respect. You know, obviously Kevin respects Cody's late great father, Dusty, and Cody has respect for Kevin Owens. But when they step in that ring, it's time to get serious here. There can only be one winner, and one of these guys will walk out with a trophy and a future title shot. Who's it gonna be? Let me know your predictions. This match will also have a special guest commentator, none other than Reister Ryan, a good friend of mine. It should be a fun matchup. Next up, I'm going to be honest, I'm reading down the run sheet, and I don't know if this match is actually going to happen, because Damian Priest, if you remember, the night after Survivor Series, unalived The Undertaker pretty much, throwing him off the stage with a military press drop, and basically sent Undertaker supposedly all the way to hell, where Taker's soul left his body. And then at the Royal Rumble, when Priest was in the Royal Rumble match, he was just standing there, and he was staring off into space, and he got eliminated. And I don't know if there's any mind manipulation going on there with Priest. I don't know if he's okay or not. But over the course, after the Royal Rumble, on the road to WrestleMania, we would see signs of The Undertaker actually coming back to life somehow. We saw Kane make an appearance a few weeks ago. Priest was in the ring sharing what was on his mind, and Kane would interrupt, and would basically warn The Undertaker of what he's all about. Kane, of course, being the man to face The Undertaker twice at WrestleMania, when he's talking about The Undertaker, you listen. And I think Kane was trying to help out Damian Priest, but Priest would take the beat down to Kane and destroy him. And Kane would sit up anyways at the end, but Priest basically might have sealed his own fate by taking out The Undertaker's brother Kane. And then the next week we saw a druid. Some guy in a druid costume would come out, and he would basically, it was another sign of The Undertaker's possible return and resurrection. So, I don't even know if this match is going to happen, ladies and gentlemen, because The Undertaker isn't with us technically. So, if he shows up at WrestleMania, I will be scared. I will be frightened. And we really don't know if this is going to happen. But Priest did make the challenge out to The Undertaker. He said, "Dead man, if you're still with us, show yourself." And at WrestleMania, we might just get it. Will there be a resurrection of the dead man at WrestleMania? Will The Undertaker resurrect and rise again? Will we see him on the greatest stage of them all? We'll have to wait and find out. Will he show up at WrestleMania, ladies and gentlemen? We'll have to find out. Next up, some more groundbreaking and achievement-making history for the women, ladies and gentlemen. The women absolutely deserve this. For the first time ever, a women's mid-card champion will be crowned. The Women's North American Championship will be crowned, as the Dangerous Alliance's Shayna Baszler will be going up against Mommy Rhea Ripley in the best of 5 series final. The series is tied 2-2. There must be a winner. One more matchup. Baszler won the first contest. If you didn't know, to catch you up, on the road to WrestleMania, after the Royal Rumble, when Shayna Baszler did the unthinkable, joining the Dangerous Alliance, allowing Ronda Rousey to walk out as the champion, Baszler and Rhea would basically start to talk to each other, basically trying to prove who the strongest woman in WWE is. And then Triple H got involved and actually has these women fighting for something now that is very important. An opportunity to crown the first ever women's mid-card champion here in the series for the Women's North American Championship. We here at NR23 figured that it was best to add a women's mid-card title, but not the women's Intercontinental title, because we already have a men's Intercontinental title. And we figure with the United States title being retired from Gunther back at Survivor Series, why not bring in another title that's inspired for the United States of America, and that is the Women's North American title. So we will crown the first ever women's mid-card champion and the first ever women's North American champion at WrestleMania Night 2 when Basler and Ripley go up against each other in the 5th encounter between them two. The first matchup, over the last 4 weeks, we've seen the 4 encounters. It was a best of 5 series. It's been happening. The first week, Shayna Baszler attacked Ripley before the bell could even ring. The ref had no other option than to call the bell, and Baszler won after brutalizing her before the bell. The second encounter, Baszler would once again win and defeat Ripley. This time it was due to a distraction from Zoe Stark, who joined the Dangerous Alliance that night and would help Baszler win that second encounter. The third encounter was desperate, and it was actually kind of a miracle for Ripley. Despite how strong and talented Rhea Ripley is, Baszler actually got herself disqualified on the third encounter. It was pretty dumb for Baszler to do that, because she could have had the series won. But Baszler locked in the Carafeudal clutch, Rhea Ripley grabbed the ropes, and she did not let go. But that week, even though it was dumb for Baszler to not win, just straight up win and end the series right there, she still brutalized Rhea Ripley, and Rhea Ripley passed out. The week after that, Rhea Ripley narrowly escaped Baszler with a roll-up, tying the series 2-2. So that one mistake from Basler on week 3 could have easily costed her the series, because now it has led to these two And on the 5th week, they had a rest. It was rest. There was no match because there's a 5th encounter. So the series was tied, so there was a week where they both got rest. So now we're at the grandest stage of them all. 5th encounter. Series is tied 2-2. Can only be one winner. And now it's Basler and Rhea Ripley, 1-on-1. The winner of this will make history and become the first ever women's mid-card champion in the series. And we're going to see who it is. Leave your predictions down below for who's going to make history here in the women's division. This match will be special guest commentated by none other than the great WrestlePlus, another fellow UniverseMode creator who's been getting better and better, and he's been gaining more subscribers and traction to his UniverseMode series. So it'll be interesting to see him commentate this match, which will make history. So it should be fun. Next up, in the co-main event of this show, Night 2, it is the final encounter ever between AJ Styles and Jay White. The final match, the final contest. 3 stages of hell. The phenomenal one taking on the Switchblade, King Switch. These two have been going back and forth. Again, for WWE history, it started around 6 months ago on SmackDown when Jay White debuted. He was supposed to be the 4th member of the OC with AJ Styles and him, both with the Good Brothers involved in that whole thing. What it actually was Jay White replacing AJ Styles as the leader of the OC. And the Good Brothers would do the unthinkable and turn on AJ Styles. This has caused Styles and White to go back and forth for months, ladies and gentlemen. There's so many layers to this feud and rivalry, ladies and gentlemen. It's just so much. And this isn't just from WWE, folks. Their history goes beyond WWE. NJPW. These two have very similar accomplishments. AJ Styles has claimed that Jay White has a copy off of AJ Styles' career. He said, and I quote, that Jay White has a copy off of me life. That's what AJ Styles called him. And you can make the argument, both have been IWGP champion, both have been IWGP US champion, both have been the faces of NJPW, right? AJ Styles goes over to WWE years ago, back in 2016, right? Back in 2016 at the Royal Rumble. And then we see, 2023, Jay White joins the WWE. And AJ Styles was the US champ at the time. They had their first contest in WWE all the way back at One Night Stand, in which Styles won. But after that match, Juice Robinson would make his appearance and join the OC, the Bullet Club Gold, whatever you want to call them, ladies and gentlemen. He would join them. And then Survivor Series, I alluded to it earlier. It's on the channel. Jay White cost AJ Styles the unification match against Gunther, and the US title was retired. And then later on that night, AJ Styles interfered and cost Jay White and the Bullet Club Gold the War Games match against the Balor Club. And then at No Mercy, they had their second encounter. Their second encounter in WWE. This time, thanks to a masked Juice Robinson coming into the crowd and then a low blow from Jay White with the referee's back turned, Jay White won the second encounter. And then later that night, AJ Styles chased Jay White. Jay White yeeted out of the arena. He took an Uber to leave. That left Juice Robinson to fight on his own. During the Hell in a Cell match with Edge and the Beast Incarnate, we would see Jay White's friend Juice Robinson and AJ Styles come out to the ring, and AJ Styles would throw Juice Robinson off the Hell in a Cell. He chased him onto the Hell in a Cell, then Styles threw him off through a table. Basically destroyed Juice Robinson. A month later at the Royal Rumble, Styles competes for the WWE title against Kenny Omega. The lights go out and Jay White appears yet again to be the ghost that haunts AJ Styles. These two have been at each other's throats for years, but especially in the last month in the road to WrestleMania. It has led to Triple H having no choice but to throw these two together one last time. 3 stages of hell. The first fall will be a normal singles match. The second fall will be a Chi-Town street fight. Anything goes. And if they need a third fall, they're going to be locked inside a steel cage. 1v1, there has to be a winner. The last match ever of these two. Styles and White. Who will go in with more momentum into Season 2? We're going to have to find out. Styles and White 3. 3 stages of hell. Who do you got? And lastly, ladies and gentlemen, the main event of WrestleMania Night 2. WWE World Championship on the line. Who will walk into Season 2 as the WWE World Champion? The champion, Kenny Omega, defends against the Royal Rumble winner, CM Punk, and a longtime friend and rival in Hangman Adam Page. Ladies and gentlemen, this has some crazy ramifications behind it. The Royal Rumble winner, CM Punk, the champion, and another challenger in Hangman. It kind of started with Hangman and Omega before Punk. Punk made his historic return at the Royal Rumble at number 30, won the Royal Rumble, and that was that. But Hangman and Omega's rivalry goes deeper than that. Hangman could not just sit back and let Punk take all the glory. Hangman eliminated Omega in the Rumble himself when Omega as the champion entered the Royal Rumble. And he still was the champion because he defeated Styles earlier on in the night. Hangman eliminated Kenny himself. It wasn't Punk. Yes, Punk won the Rumble. 100% the Rumble winner should get the title shot, but that's basically what Hangman was arguing. Hangman eliminated Omega. The history between them two goes back to All Elite Wrestling when they were tag champions. And then their feud got reignited because a few weeks back, or a few months back rather, Hangman was pretty much solidified as a member of the Elite once again until he was losing. He lost to Adam Cole, right? He lost to Adam Cole. And again, the Elite is another faction where if you lose and make them look bad, they're going to drop you like a bad habit. So Eric Bischoff and Kenny and the Young Bucks, they came up with the decision to replace Hangman with Osprey. And Osprey attacked Hangman and kicked him out the group. Hangman's been trying to get revenge on Omega ever since. During the Royal Rumble, he tried to. After the Royal Rumble, he tried to. He hit Punk with a deadeye when Punk was talking about how he was going to main event Mania against Kenny. And CM Punk in all this, he finally gets his WrestleMania main event. But is it worth having the main event if you could possibly lose, and not only lose to the champion, but lose to a guy who didn't win the Royal Rumble, who got his way back into this matchup? This match is going to be brutal. This match is going to be violent. CM Punk being in this also goes back to earlier this year when Punk and Eric Bischoff were actually allies in the Straight Edge Society. But once Punk lost to Jon Moxley in the I Quit match back at One Night Stand, Punk quit the next night. And we wouldn't see him until he came back at the Rumble at number 30. And Punk won. Which means Punk is guaranteed a title shot. It's just Hangman did what he did. And you can't fault either man. I don't think anyone's necessarily right or wrong. But one thing's for sure. A few weeks ago, Hangman and Punk made a pact to each other that despite how they feel about each other, CM Punk called Hangman an empty-headed dumb fuck. But they both made it clear that neither of them are actually going to let Kenny Omega walk out as champion. Kenny Omega begs to differ because, as you can see, this past week on Anarchy, Omega had the Bucks orchestrate a hit and run on both these guys, and he'd hit both of them with the title belt, and he hit them both with one-winged angels. So 3 guys, 1 belt, but there can only be 1 winner. And yeah, so that's the entire WrestleMania card, ladies and gentlemen, for both nights. WrestleMania Night 1 and WrestleMania Night 2. Whew, I'm tired. I know I'm tired. Are you guys tired? Now, I know this video was very long, ladies and gentlemen. I know it was a long video. But if you made it this far, let me know you made it this far. If you made it this far, I want you to know this, right? Because I'm sure some people clicked off the video already. Or they just skipped around. But I want you all to know. The purpose of this long video was to basically fill in the blanks. And fill in the possible questions as to, the questions that people might have as to why a certain match is happening, or how did this come to be? How did that come to be? Nick, you skipped Anarchy, so now we don't know what's happening or how these matches came to be. Well, I just wanted to go in depth. I want to give you a complete overview of each match to tell you how everything was planned and how everything is meant to be. And again, I'm doing this because I wanted to skip the Anarchies heading into WrestleMania, because after WrestleMania, it all comes down to the answer to that poll that I put out about a month or so ago, where Raw and SmackDown won. So I figured we could just go to WrestleMania, and then we can start fresh with Raw and SmackDown and have the draft and start with something fresh. When I say start fresh, that doesn't mean erase history. That just means maybe do a new style of content where I do shorter episodes, or maybe try something else that I've never wanted to try with the universe mode. We'll see what happens. Pay-per-views will always be regular length, and I'll always bust my ass to make sure you guys get a good premium live event. And again, these 2 episodes, ladies and gentlemen, they're going to take a long time to get out. I'm telling you right now, everyone's been asking me. A lot of fans, I understand the excitement, and I'm glad you guys are excited for it, but it is going to take a while to get these 2 episodes out, because it's going to be literally a Saturday night and then a Sunday night. 2 premium live events in 2 nights. It's going to take a while to come out, folks. But I can guarantee you this, for those that are still here, it is going to be the 2 best and biggest shows of this series, and you guys will not be disappointed. You guys are going to want to like, comment, subscribe if you're new, and not miss this, because all these matches, there's a purpose behind all of them. I just laid out the storyline and the purpose for each match. Every match on this card has a long-term plan, and something will happen with each of these matches. So, I'm sorry for the extra long video today. I'm sorry, I just want to go in depth about each match. And I wanted to explain why each match is happening so that there's no questions, so that people can't come to me in the chat on WrestleMania when these episodes air and be like, Nick, why is this happening? This doesn't make sense. Well, I explained in the match card video in depth why these matches are happening. And that's that. So, that's going to be it for today, ladies and gentlemen. Again, sorry for the long video, but this video needed to be made to explain everything in depth. Here's to a new era in WWE. I'll be back with another discussion video maybe to explain how the draft will work and how Season 2 will work. But yeah. WrestleMania will be coming out soon. It's the next episode in Universe Mode. Please like, comment, subscribe if you're new. It's been your guy, NR23. Thank you for listening if you're still listening to this point. And I'll see you guys in Chicago. Peace.